In our news bulletin for this evening, Niue welcomes the official visit of the Director General for SPC, Dr. Colin Tukuitonga. The Environment Department raises concerns regarding the dumping of raw animal products at the Makatoa dump site and wharf area. Key agencies on the island are in a two-day training workshop focused on emergency management. The winch at Avasele was officially launched over the weekend in a small ceremony and is now open for use. The Director General of the Secretariat of the Pacific Community, Dr. Colin Tukuitonga, is on an official visit to the island this week to discuss with government officials the development progress in Niue and new areas of cooperation with SPC. The Pacific Community has 26 members that includes the 22 Pacific Island countries and territories served by SPC. Dr. Colin Tukuitonga took up the post of the Director General of SPC on the 23rd of January in 2014 and is based at the headquarters in Nomea, New Caledonia. We caught up with Dr. Colin to find out how he feels about the new job and some of the achievements and highlights since taking up the post.
I've been in the job a year now. It's just been a fantastic opportunity. I suppose just some highlights. We managed to sign a 10-year agreement with the Government of Australia in terms of our forward planning and funding, and that's really important because previously we used to just have a year agreement or 3 years, and it's not good from that point of view. And similarly, we had the same thing also with New Zealand just before Christmas, so I'm really pleased about that. Also last year we got admitted as a permanent observer at the UN. Why is that important? Well, it's important because we can now have a voice at the UN General Assembly where we can raise the issues that affect the Pacific, whether it's climate change or non-communicable diseases like diabetes and heart disease or whatever. So that's really important. And also we had a visit from President Hollande of France to SPC for the first time in its 68-year history, and I was able to invite Premier Talangi and some of the leaders to meet with Hollande on climate change and preparations for Paris. And the President of France agreed that he would do his best to make sure that the issues of the Pacific are heard, that a binding agreement is reached in Paris, that the small island states will have easier access to the funding for climate change work, things like that.
Dr. Colin is the second Niuean to hold this post in SPC's 68-year history. He has also worked in senior roles in the past in Niue, Fiji, New Zealand and Switzerland. But heading SPC, one of the largest regional organizations, has proven to be one of the most exciting opportunities.
Well, this is probably the biggest and most exciting because for the first time I'll be working for 26 members of SPC, the biggest job. 100 million US dollars a year is our budgets, thereabouts. 660 odd staff scattered around the region, so without a doubt is the biggest challenge for me. When I was working as Chief Executive of the Ministry of Pacific Island Affairs in Wellington, I mean, we were really only just working for the Pacific Island people who called New Zealand home, so that's quite limited. Even when I was working for WHO in Geneva, the World Health Organization, it was a global mandate, but I really didn't feel I was able to. Of course, we did some things that benefited the islands, but I was working more elsewhere and, you know, for the people's benefit in Latin America and Asia and other places, and it didn't have the same. Of course, it was important, but it didn't have the same sort of feeling that I do now, and it's fantastic to finally be able to come back and work for the region.
Whilst on island, the Director General will also be meeting with government officials to discuss progress with arrangements for the Conference of the Pacific Community that will take place in Niue in November of this year. We will bring you more on that story in Thursday's news bulletin. Niue's Environment Department has raised concerns following recent reports of irresponsible disposal of waste, but especially raw meat or animal waste at the main dump site at Makatoa in Alofi and at the wharf. Last week, the department issued a notice for people to stop the practice of dumping animal parts or meat at Makatoa because of the potential health risks that would attract flies, pests and vermin. The advice given was for people to properly dispose of these products by either burning or burying such waste. This week, members of the public were worried about the dumping of animal parts or organs at the wharf, and reports were lodged with the department. The issue of waste disposal is not new on the island, but this latest development has added implications, and the department is appealing to the public to take more care and thought, especially when trying to dispose of animal products. The dump site at Makatoa has also been getting a fair bit of attention lately, but efforts have been hampered by people who continue to dump their rubbish at the main entrance. This is something Environment and the local rubbish collection contractors are working on to manage waste on the island. Several public notices and warnings have been issued, but it is a matter of changing mindsets and actions that exercise common sense that will make a difference. Emergency management is on the agenda in a two-day training workshop facilitated by the Secretariat of the Pacific Community and the New Zealand Fire Service this week. The workshop was open today with most of the local agencies involved in disaster risk reduction and management present. The focus on emergency management promotes taking a collective and coordinated approach in terms of management of resources and responsibilities for addressing all aspects of emergencies. We were at the Niue Golf and Sports Club today to find out what the workshop was about and its importance for Niue.
Basically, the objective is to bring the emergency management agencies together. Individually, they've got plans of what they want to achieve, but what we're trying to say here is together they may be able to achieve more, such as developing interoperable communication systems, looking at the National Disaster Management Plan and how they all have roles, how they can assist each other. But also, more importantly, we're looking at using the same document to assist donor countries, such as New Zealand, UN agencies, even SPC, to be able to better direct assistance to Niue in emergency management. This is part of a wider regional initiative that's known as the Pacific Islands Emergency Management Alliance. And under PEMA, this is one of the components we're looking at, is where we have strategic plans for emergency management across the Pacific. Niue is the second country to take this on. The first one we did was in Vanuatu late last year, and Niue is the second. We've got a few other countries coming up after this, such as the Solomons, Samoa.
The 2 days of discussions will work towards harmonizing individual agency plans into a more coordinated national emergency management development plan. This workshop will help those within the key agencies on island to have a better understanding of what emergency management is, and also to develop a plan forward for the next 12 months. Niue is quite small with limited resources, but according to Mr. Blake, this could also be an advantage.
Niue has one thing for an advantage, is the small size, and definitely another advantage Niue has is the very strong community that you have. What we're developing here with the strategic roadmap is what sort of other resources that we could bring to support that. We're not saying reinvent the wheel. We're looking at strengthening what Niue has. PEMA and this project is part of a bigger European Union funded project through SPC that's known as the Building Safety and Resilience Project in the Pacific. And through that project, Niue has been allocated funding for the next 5 years on what they'd like to achieve. We'd like to commend Niue that one of the activities that Niue wants to do, which possibly could be the first of its kind in the Pacific, is what is to be known as a joint emergency center, where you have the Emergency Operations Center, Disaster Management Office, the police, the structural firefighting units, disaster containers, all in one setup. And that's something that Niue is taking the lead on for the rest of the Pacific.
The expected outcomes from this workshop will be the development of a strategic roadmap document for emergency management and a common approach by agencies that will help Niue build its resilience and also strengthen recovery efforts when there are disasters or emergencies. Fishermen on the island can look forward to having another launching site with the completion and opening of the new winch at the Avasele ramp over the weekend. This marks a milestone and culmination of years of planning, discussions and developments for another area to launch boats from other than the wharf. A small gathering of government officials and members from the village were present to witness the official opening of the winch that is now open to be used, and the program started with a blessing from the village pastor, Reverend Siantuato, and followed by a few speeches from those who were greatly involved in the development of the proposal and implementation of this project. Director of DEF Brendan Pasisi gave thanks and gratitude to all who had a part in making this a reality. Village Member of Parliament, Honourable Pili Tarangi, who was also an avid fisherman himself, explained the background of the project and how much of a difference it would make and mean for the people of the island. He described the years that the Niue Island Fishermen's Association had lobbied for more than 20 years to get a winch set up in Amsele. This new electric-powered winch is a welcomed addition that will make lives for fishermen a little bit easier. The honour of launching and officially opening the area was given to Minister for Natural Resources, Honourable Pokotoa Sipeli, to test the equipment to uplift a boat and place it in the water, and that went without a hitch. With the formalities out of the way, it was time to partake in a feast that was prepared by the village and the Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries. And that concludes our news bulletin for this evening.